Hello, hello, and hello. Welcome to Vet Talks, the Adapt, Improvise, and Overcome podcast, where we focus and explore on how this adapt, improvise, and overcome is the force behind our military members and actually non-military members, and helps them overcome virtually any obstacle. This is physical, mental, or even spiritual obstacles. And for our military members in particular, how it can be the force behind creative destruction, or more generally speaking, how it has lent itself to our military members' best innovations. And of course, this is relevant to everybody, not just to our military members and fans of the military. For corporations, innovation and invention is necessary for survival. For our military members, well, it's often a matter of life and death, which is one of the reasons why they do it so well. And so many don't actually know that. But this brings us to the reason behind Vet Talks and its parent company, the nonprofit 501c3 Project RELO. The more you know about our military members, what they do and how they do it, the more you can appreciate them, both while they serve and yet to the point, and more importantly, how you can appreciate them when they conclude their service and they can bring these otherwise often underutilized skills, many times soft skills, to your corporations to the benefit of your organization. Our motto at RELO and Project RELO and Vet Talks is really quite simple. Hiring a vet isn't a social good. It's simply good business. With that, let me introduce myself. I am your host. My name is Christian Anschuetz, and I'm leading this podcast exploration. I'm a proud Marine Corps veteran myself, and I've worn many hats besides that. I've been an entrepreneur. I've been a corporate commando, and recently, I should say almost 6 years ago, was the founder of Project RELO, a very, very innovative nonprofit veteran cause where we teach corporations what they can get out of our military members. And we teach some of the top executives leadership using transitioning military members to do that. We have two fantastic guests today, two of them. One you will recognize from our last episode and one that's new. Let's start with the latter. Our new guest is a great lady by the name of Shelli Nelson. Shelli Nelson. Shelli is the managing director of talent acquisition at Madison Industries. Shelli has excelled in her career in human resources because she understands business strategies, building organizations that are structured to excel, recruiting and developing outstanding talent, and then, of course, designing and executing innovative programs. This sounds like a great match so far. Society of Human Resource Management. People know that as SHRM, which is a leader in the advancement of human resource management. In addition, Shelli's led HR teams at Spot Trading, Ibbotson, also known as Morningstar, and Legacy Marketing Partners. She's on the board of directors for Project RELO. Bravo, Shelli, bravo. The nonprofit that I mentioned earlier. She graduated from Drake University and earned a master's degree in HR management from Keller. Shelli, welcome to our show.
Thank you, Christian.
And now let me go back to our other guest. Now, this guest you met again at a previous, Vet Talks podcast number 52, and this is number 53. Erik Ward. Erik Ward is a former Green Beret who served with the 1st Battalion, 10th Group in Germany. Prior to making the move to Special Forces, he was a member of the 1st Armored Division as a combat engineer and deployed to Iraq in 2003. He is airborne, Ranger, Mountaineer, and Sniper qualified, kind of like an all-around badass, if you ask me. He left the military, though, in 2010 after 2 deployments with his team, and he began working in product development. Interesting switch from Green Beret to product development and innovation, where he's remained for the last 10 years. He's got 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 patents in his name, and has created several products which are actually used around the world today. He lives outside of Chicago with his wife and 4 children. Erik, welcome back.
Awesome. Thanks for having me again.
Oh, truly our pleasure here at Vet Talks and Project RELO. So the episode today is, folks, if you couldn't tell based on who we're talking to and the fact that we brought Erik back, it's the importance of innovation in the corporate setting, and how do you find it? And when you find it, what do you do with it? So that's the topic for today. And it sounds to me like we got 2 experts that can shed some light on those questions. So let's get into that. Shelli, let me go to you first. Can you just give a little more color about what you do at Madison Industries? I mean, I read a bio, but I don't think I did justice to you.
Yeah, of course, Christian. And again, thank you. It's an honor to be on the show with you. At Madison Industries, I am managing director of talent acquisition. So I essentially recruit for all of the executive level or the strategic hires across all of our businesses, of which we have over 40 now in our portfolio.
Awesome. So you find talent, you identify talent, you find it, and then you even, did I understand you also develop it
Mhm.
across a portfolio of, how big is Madison Industries, by the way? It's a good size
Yeah,
firm.
yeah, we have 12,000 employees around the globe in 45 countries, 200 facilities.
Yeah, so this is not a small company. Therefore, the scope of your job is quite huge. By the way, if you're looking for executives with some talent, I'm still available out there, world. More on that later. No, not more on that later. We'll go on to Erik. Erik Ward. Again, I kind of did a intro for you real quick. What do you got for us? It's in terms of your background that you want to expand on that I didn't quite hit. Erik, you're talking. I see the lips moving, and I don't hear any volume.
That is the theme of the last year. So no,
Hey, wait, no, the next thing you're innovate like a dummy-proof mute button, because
Yeah.
it's not just you; it happens to like everybody. I mean, we do Zoom calls all the time, and constantly you go, "Excuse me, you're on mute." So,
yeah,
go,
I think
please.
space bar works in most. Yeah, you hit most of it. Just the military seems so far into the past now. Been doing product design and innovation for the last going on 11 years. Across a bunch of different industries, virtual reality and medical, the tech industry, and now air purification. So, each of them is a good and unique experience.
Awesome. Any new news about what you're doing, or change in job or scope or anything like that?
Yeah, so since we last spoke, I'll be taking on a new role starting in February as Director of Innovation for a company, for one of the Madison Industry companies. So really excited about the role and kind of the impact it can have on the organization, and seeing what we do through 2021. It's going to be exciting.
I actually think I do want to work at Madison Industries. They don't have like you climbing the corporate ladder. It sounds like an elevator, one of those express ones. I mean, 2 weeks ago, you're some guy slobbing around. I'm kidding, but now you're the director of innovation for one of the businesses. Bravo, congratulations! I love seeing our Project RELO alumni, of which Erik, you are one, and from a military member, and Shelli, you're another. How this comes together and actually creates these kind of opportunities for our military members, folks. If you're tuning into this, this is entirely, 100% entirely the point of Project RELO. So if this interests you, let's keep going. I'm going to get into the topic here, which, as I said, it's about innovation and its importance. So look, if last week was all about necessity being the mother and father of innovation and invention, right? Shelli, Erik, let's start with Shelli. How valuable is innovation to Madison Industries? I mean, is this something that you look for? Is this something you seek?
Absolutely, it's imperative in our talent, especially to be able to innovate. But of course, our customers demand it. So we are constantly failing fast, moving quickly, and that all starts with the hiring process and finding the right people.
Ooh, I like that. Look, can I get you to expand on that? So I love it. First of all, let me just I know this is an interview, but I always throw out my chunks of wisdom, which may not be wisdom, so disregard them if you don't like them. But I find that most organizations do this thing. They say, oh, the best organizations are made of the best people, right? And then they do this lip service to the people and how we treat them and how we train them, how we develop them. But then when you look at sort of like the pyramid of how corporations run themselves, at the very top of the pyramid is finance. And then you have in the center of the pyramid, you have things like, I don't know, marketing, technology, et cetera. And on the bottom, the ultimate functionary in so many firms is HR. I mean, you do the hiring, the firing, you hire everybody based on a keyword search as you look through resumes every 8 seconds. But I got a feeling that's different with Madison. I mean, you're there. So tell me how you actually make people strategic. I got to learn more about this, please.
Thank you for asking. I will say, Christian, this is the first company I've worked for that has this philosophy on hiring, which is we don't look at specific job descriptions per se. I would say 80% of my conversations are with leaders who, number one, aren't looking, they're very passive. But also we've identified as being great athletes. So they're really good at a lot of different things. And so we're looking for talent, folks who are innovative. They want to come into an organization like this, perhaps without even a job description. And again, connecting the dots between the best talent and the best opportunities. So we look for that right entry point versus checking a box and looking at a specific job description, as Erik can very much attest to.
Erik, you want to attest to that? That sounded like a lead for you.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, the what you're agreeing to coming in is, or you're promising is your full effort to make things better. And, we have, all over the office at Purafil, and I'm sure the rest of the businesses, we have, kind of some core tenets. And one of the things at Purafil is that no task is below you. And, really, I think that serves innovation, to be willing to stick your hands into anything. You really have to see, not just customer problems, but all of your stakeholder problems to be able to work against them. So it's a great mindset. It's definitely an innovation mindset to believe that, there's nothing that's beneath you.
I'm gonna make you two a little uncomfortable, because I'm gonna press this question, because I mean, seriously, I mean, I heard Shelli say, look, I've been in this business for a while, and this is the first company that really is strategic about people. That means you've dealt with others that are less strategic, maybe not bad companies. I didn't hear you say that, but just less strategic about people. And yet, how are you different? I mean, you still got HR systems. They're feeding you, you put a job out there, and what, you get 1,000 applications, especially now, in 15 minutes. I mean, so how are you ferreting through that sea of potential talent to find what Madison really wants and needs? How do you do it?
Well, I think first of all, I'm not looking through stacks of resumes by any means. It's really more about building relationships, building a solid network, getting incredible referrals, identifying the best talent in the world, and then again, investing time, investing relationship equity, I'll call it, versus putting a job posting out and hoping or praying that you're going to get the right candidate coming through.
Yeah, I mean, Christian, I've benefited from what Shelli does, and I've, as she mentioned, most companies don't work this way, but there's no kind of meat grinder here. I mean, Shelli went out into the field. I was fortunate to benefit from her work. We met on a field exercise for a few days, and to have that opportunity to really show yourself, and instead of just paint the very best picture of yourself in a resume, is a unique opportunity, both that Project RELO is providing, and I don't think that many people are approaching it like Shelli does. 8 seconds on a resume, or 3 days spent with you, on a field exercise. Yeah, I think Shelli's approach, I of course agree with.
Well, it's funny, Erik. Maybe you're right. Maybe most aren't. I mean, I think I heard Shelli say she invests in relationships. She looks to referrals. She invests time getting to know people. This is kind of putting the human back in human resources, perhaps. Whereas, I mean, our pursuit of scale and then automation to support that scale has often created, again, the functionary HR department that does get about 8 seconds per resume. And you know what? To be provocative, they're not looking at a stack of resumes either. They're looking at a short, tiny pile that the machine just happened to spit out that just happened to match all the keywords that some potential hiring manager put into the system. Not a lot of human resources in that regard. So Shelli, I mean, it sounds like your approach is different. And if you're spending that kind of time and money doing it, because time is money, especially in the corporate world, I mean, why? You said it's important. You said it's imperative. Customers are demanding it. Can we be more specific? I mean, what's driving this we got to be thinking about the soft skills of our people. Our people are strategic, and then tie that maybe to the innovation part.
I think, again, going back to the people, and we hear this time and time again, it's all about the people that you bring into the organization. It doesn't matter what your products are, who you're serving. If you don't have the innovation, if you don't have the curiosity, if you don't have the right attributes, your business will fail. I hope that answers your question.
It does, but let me. Well, Erik, you look like you wanted to add something. Your mute actually came off before you started moving your mouth, so I think that's a good sign.
No, nothing specific. I think it was a small screen glitch.
Gotcha. Yeah, okay. Well, but again, let me continue to be provocative. So, I mean, Shelli, in HR world, I mean, what's that range? Between 30 on the low side, like ridiculously low side, it almost doesn't exist, to 80%, which is really, really high and maybe is extreme, but more likely as a percentage of the workforce that's disengaged at any given company. And every company you talk to is like, yeah, that's true, but not here. Not true for me. Of course, this is every HR professional I've ever talked to.
Yeah.
And CEO, etc. So what's going on?
Sorry to interrupt. I think for us, because we've done extensive research surveys and otherwise to really find out if our employees can connect the dots between the work that they do on a daily basis and our mission. I should back up. Our mission is to make the world safer, healthier, and more productive. And there isn't any level of employee who can't connect the dots between what they do and that greater mission. And again, that always starts with the hiring process, finding the right people who are mission driven, finding the people who have the 3 attributes that we always look for. And it doesn't stop there. That's just the beginning. You have to continue to support them, elevate them professionally, find out, what they value both personally and professionally. And that takes time. It's an investment in time. But for us, it's certainly worked out. I mean, I don't know if Erik has anything to share, but at last count, I heard that we've come up with 33 new products just in the last 6 months to directly impact COVID. And I don't know about you, but I can't think of any business that is able to do that if they are bureaucratic in nature. And don't run, very autonomously and have that cross collaboration between teams.
Yeah, definitely. We taking on the new role that I am. I have a presentation to walk through next week, and it starts off. If you'll give me one quote, but it's a William Pollard quote, and it rings very true. And I think the entire organization kind of reflects, that they acknowledge this. But it's learning and innovation go hand in hand. The arrogance of success is to think what you did yesterday will be sufficient for tomorrow. And, it's really, when you say tomorrow, I mean, we really are operating on that scale to say, okay, let's really pay attention to what happened yesterday. And if there's a little bit more we can do today, we're going to do that little bit more today. We're going to innovate today. We're not going to, wait for the next quarter or the next half. Let's just get started.
That's interesting. So many things come to mind with this discussion. First and foremost, hey, Erik, email me that quote, please. I'd love that quote because, that, especially the arrogance, that's a definite Rizzutoism if I've ever heard one. Let me go back to something you said, Shelli. You said you look for attributes. You said 3 attributes. Can you share what those are? What is it that you're looking for in people?
Yeah, of course. Number 1 is trust. Number 2 is bias for action. And number 3 is entrepreneurial. The trust piece is self-explanatory, right? We do what we say and we say what we do. Bias for action comes back to what Erik talked about earlier. Nothing is beneath us, literally nothing. We're going to roll up our sleeves. We're going to get our hands dirty. We expect our leaders to be equally as tactical as they are strategic. I've talked to several remarkable executives from, Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies over the last couple of years, and they're all stellar in their own right. But at the end of the day, if they're more comfortable delegating to large teams, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just not going to work in our environment. So we screen for that pretty heavily on the front end. And then that last piece, entrepreneurial, doesn't mean we're looking for talent out of startups. If they have that experience, of course, that can only be beneficial. But what we mean by that is having a curious mindset and being innovative, and always looking for new and different ways to come up with new products for our customers, new and different ways of doing things.
Oh, I love that. I didn't hear in any of that you saying you hire for a certain technical skill. Now that could be because you're a portfolio of companies and you need a lot of different technical skills, so you couldn't name one. But let me ask this: when you're looking for your talent, what's more important that they have? Like, I know you have for example, an air filtration business, that they're a mechanical engineer that have worked in air filtration for 10 years, or that they have these three attributes, as you call them. You have, this is an either or in this very simple example. You get to pick the experience or the traits. Where do you go?
The attributes. Absolutely.
So folks, this is a source of fundamental differentiation. If you talk to any CEO, virtually any CEO, Fortune 1 to 10,000, 100,000, 200,000, there's 200,000 mid-cap CEO companies in the United States alone. You ask the CEO what they hire for, and they'll say integrity, initiative, and say decisiveness. Those roughly actually equate to what Shelli, you just listed in terms of trust, action, bias for action, and entrepreneurialism. So there's a rough translation there, at least in my mind. And yet HR departments are, again, using these systems that are going off of keywords that don't have any bearing on those, soft skill attributes, as you called them. Instead, it's, do they have a college degree? Do they have 6 years in this field and industry? Have they worked in, in this specific activity? Why is Madison, what drives this difference? Why is Madison so different? And when everybody knows this disengagement issue is a problem, why aren't people following your lead more? What's going on?
It's a great question. I know for us, or at least for me personally, this is the first time that I haven't been bound to measurements that don't matter. For example, you mentioned HR and looking at resumes and how many seconds, et cetera, et cetera. Most talent acquisition groups are measured by, time to fill, or, number of interviews, this, that, and the other. I've never once been asked, how many candidates did you talk to for this role? Or what was the time frame in which the job rec was open and you closed it? To us, it's measuring what matters. So that's what's important. When you look at this role in a year, how are you going to measure success? That's certainly something that I ask on the front end when I'm working with our hiring managers.
So interesting. Go ahead, please, Erik. Please go.
I guess if there were typical metrics, not that I've never worked in, TA or HR, but, I don't think, I guess my experience with Madison was maybe, it was a high number of interviews and in conversations with people over a period of time. And it was because Madison wanted the right person, and they had a high level of interest in it being right for me as well. I really enjoyed a lot of the conversations. One of the great ones was with our chief human resource officer, and he was the first conversation I had in earnest. And I was almost trying to sell him on my resume, and he did me the biggest favor. And he, I couldn't see him, but I imagine he was putting his hands up and just like, hey, full stop, man. I asked you about you, and you're talking to me about X, Y, and Z. So let's stop and start over. I'm curious about you. And I think what they get out of that is, what a person really wants, and not what they're going to do today, but what I'm going to try and do a year from now, and understand that I'm going to have to do a whole lot of work to get there. It was just such a refreshing experience. I spent more time having personal conversations. I would say 80% were genuinely interested questions about me and my family, and 20% around the job. I would say it's probably easy to fake what you want people to think you are, and hard to fake what you are when they spend that much time, actually talking to you. So.
That's fascinating. Did you say the chief HRO did that, full stop, Erik, you mentioned my hands coming up. That was the CHRO that you were talking to that said that to you.
Yeah. Yeah. He was my first, real, I guess, first stop in the, interview process. And like I said, just a huge favor he did me in understanding what the dynamic was and what the culture was there. That if I ask you about you, I'm asking about you. There's no loaded question.
And Christian, you'll be happy to know that person is also a Marine.
Well, now, coincidence? Of course, I'm biased. I'm biased. Yes, I think non-veterans and veterans are on an equal playing field in terms of the quality and the capability they can bring. And yet, the whole idea of getting to know veterans is we often think of military members in a very small box. They're heroes. They're not assets, and that's just not the case. I mean, that veterans are a lot like non-veterans. In fact, they're almost exactly the same as non-veterans. Their experiences are different. Right. So just like any group of people, we have to learn about the value that the experiences that every group of people across this country and even across the world have, and what those experiences bring to organizations to make them better. But what I love about this story, I love about this story is there's two things that are really, really different about what you're saying, Erik. One, you were talking to the CHRO. That's difference number one. The CHRO usually in a lot of firms, they delegate everything and they'll only talk to somebody that's going onto the management team or get involved in board discussions. I'm not picking on anybody in or even the function, but a multi-billion-dollar firm like Madison Industries, CHRO is usually pretty busy, not to get busy, too tied down with this tactical stuff of talking to, Erik Ward. But not at Madison. I love that. That's different. You know what else is different? The question, the whole idea of, I got what you got technically, so to speak, from your resume. I need to know about you and what I'm imagining. And Shelli, you tell me if I'm wrong. They were trying to ferret out this trust, bias towards action, and entrepreneurialism. I mean, you can't get that really from a resume because, hey, let's face it, most resumes are just a bunch of malarkey, right? I mean, it's, you got to do this thing. You got to do these series of things. You got to, invest time, use relationships, get to know people. I mean, that's just genius. Where'd that come from? Oh, Shelli Nelson. Oh, welcome back. Hey, Erik, why did you join Madison? I'm really putting you on the spot, right? Especially since the CHRO is probably listening right now. Why did you join Madison?
Yeah, no, not on the spot. And that's an easy question to answer. I got to share with a couple people that I've spent the last 20 years of my life doing things that matter to me. I've been fortunate to really only do things that matter to me. And this was, another one of those things. Every one of our companies is focused on the same mission. And it made sense to me. It aligned with what I want to do. And I feel like it matters. So you have a handful of great conversations and you agree with the mission of the group you're talking to. Easy decision. I think I told Shelli after my first couple conversations, I said, I'm going to volunteer as an unpaid intern if you guys don't offer me a job, at some point. I mean, that is the feeling that I got, after my first few conversations. So
can you just expand on the feeling? Because I think it's important. What was that feeling? I mean, so I get that you like the mission. We'll get back to that. But what were you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, so, right now as a company, we're really focused on, 80-20 and the Beret principle. And, I'll say 80% of what the people seem to care about was me. Even take the new role that I'm moving into. One of the first things that the company president said to me about the role was, I think this will be really good for your family. I mean, that not, here's, what I expect you to do for the company, so on and so forth. This will be good for your family. And it's because we've had an opportunity to have, conversations and kind of understand, what my goals were. And that's it. You feel genuinely engaged with and cared about. Every other decision is easy.
Interesting. So, I mean, if I could extrapolate, and do please correct me if I go off the rails. I do that. It sounds like you're saying the work matters. In other words, you like the mission, this safety, making the world better. So you like the mission, okay? And you like what the company does, and you like how the company made you feel because it made you feel like you were the asset. So those are two. Is that kind of like the two driving forces, like two big pillars there? And because I didn't hear you say anything about, oh, they offered me like, they're paying at the 85th percentile or anything. I didn't hear you mention compensation.
Yeah, and I think too, just the mission is really it's verbalized by everyone. So I feel like I could look at any role and be interested in it in the industry and be interested in it if the people are engaged in it and they're sharing what it is they do that they care about. You pick anything, logistics, working at one of the major package carriers. If your package doesn't show up on time, look how frustrated you get about it. The how much people care about what they're doing, comes through really quickly. There's so many roles and so many positions. There are a few positions that don't matter, but it's really hard to understand, how much they matter if the people aren't sharing that with you, if they're not verbalizing it, they're not living it. You can quickly get sucked into the minutia and feel like that's what it's all about if everyone's not talking about those kind of non-tangible things.
That's what it's all about, quote, that's what it's all about, end quote. That's what I heard you just say. And I think in a nutshell, we actually just solved why most companies have employee engagement issues, right? Because that's what it's all about in most firms. Is there's a loyalty and an interest from the employee's perspective to the paycheck, because the company at the very best, that's what they give them. They don't give them the things that really nurture the soul, which is a purpose, in this case, the mission. And they don't necessarily make them feel like they're an asset on a team that really matters. And that's that personal part that's been covered in so many different ways by what you both have talked about. But, for example, the CHRO talking to Erik and saying, whoa, full stop. I want to hear about you. I saw what your resume says, but I need to hear about you because I'm really interested in these attributes of trust, a bias towards action, and entrepreneurialism. And I need to hear it from you because the keyword searches just don't ferret that out. I love this conversation. Please.
I think too, Christian, because the CHRO conversation was great, but one of the things too that I want to share is I'm not sure how many text messages and phone calls and emails Shelli has answered since I joined the company. So her role is TA, and we met. She found a role for me, and has not stopped being a resource. So
hasn't abandoned you, huh?
Just
kind of find you, throw you to the pack of wolves, and say hasta la vista.
Yeah, no, not at all. Just so the continued vested interest is unique and appreciated.
Shelli, that was a nice little compliment. Anything you want to say back?
We're just so grateful that we had this Project RELO trip, and I met Erik, and now he's on board. We're just thrilled that he's part of the organization, and I consider him a friend, and couldn't be more excited. So.
It's almost like you knew where I might take this conversation. It's weird. So Project RELO, you just mentioned it. This experience, Shelli, come on. I know you're on the board now, but tell me, before you got on the board, you're hearing about Project RELO and then you do it. What did you experience? What was this thing? And why did you decide, I want to be on the board of this thing? Tell us more.
Well, the trip itself was really transformational, right? I didn't really know what to expect. I wanted to go because I wanted to experience it, and I wanted to really get to know people's stories. But again, I didn't know what to expect. So sleeping in a tent certainly was a challenge. And don't get me wrong, I had to do that all growing up. That's all we did is we camped, and I said I would never do it again the rest of my life. But I did it for
You were
RELO.
wrong.
um, uh, the other thing I'll say is when I agreed to go on the trip, someone from Project RELO reached out and said, "Hey, there's someone else driving up from Chicago to Grayling. Do you want to drive with him?" And I said, "Sure, absolutely." And I hung up the phone. I thought, I'm driving 6 hours each way with a complete stranger. Was that a good idea? What are we going to talk about? And now that person is someone who's asked me to join him as a podcast co-host. And so it's, again, the relationships that I built at RELO, hearing the stories of the veterans was really powerful, and certainly helps give me perspective as I take that back into the workplace. We already have a number of veterans within Madison Industries, which is awesome. But again, it gave me the confidence and clarity as I speak with veterans out there who are looking, so that I can really identify, is Madison going to be the right fit for them?
It's for our listeners, that because I didn't tee up what Project RELO does. It does two things, and I'll be really quick about it. One, we've partnered with the United States military, and we run field exercises on military bases using military installations to teach leadership to top executives. And we use military members and veterans to do that. And we do it over a multi-day field exercise. I mean, what Shelli's talking about is she gets plopped in a base, you sleep in the barracks, you launch off on a convoy operation, you do weapons handling, call for fire, etc. You end up 3 days later, really, really tired, really, really dirty. And as Shelli said, transformed. At the same time, Project RELO, now, we didn't do this until just recently, and we're really beefing up this capability. Once companies are inspired to hire more military members because they really actually understand the qualities that they have, then we help them find them and place them within their ranks. It's a nice virtuous circle here. The best organizations are made of the best people. I believe that. Apparently, I'm with two people that believe that. And there's a real way to do it that's a little bit different than the average firms. But then again, that's what makes the great firms great and the average firms so numerous. Erik, Project RELO, you were on Project RELO. What was that experience for you?
Overall, obviously it was positive. The number of, opportunities, and I use opportunity broadly, for, to network, to create new, relationships, find opportunities, in work. The list is long and growing. The benefits of RELO. It's almost, if I actually kind of rattle everything off, I'd sound like I was exaggerating. The people were great. Again, really mission driven. And it was funny to see how quickly people kind of shook their skin off in the first day, and by the second day, there was just this small tribe that existed. I don't know how much of that is by design or if it's just the environment, but I mean, just a great experience.
If there's anything that the notions of trust, by the way, when you hopped in that car, Shelli, for 6 hours with a complete stranger, you were exercising attribute number one from Madison Industries, and it was trust. And it wasn't a blind trust, because you also knew the people that had hooked you up going to Project RELO wouldn't ever put you with anybody of questionable character. So, but you were exercising that first attribute, and did so admirably. But back to Erik and the numerous things you were saying, I'm gonna pivot, and I'm gonna go from Erik to another person. It sounds a lot like Erik. One of our military members. This was a retired Navy person. They got out, had a number of, as Erik said, a number of opportunities, too many to list. And he put it very succinctly. He said that his experience and the connections he made and the opportunities that resulted from his Project RELO experience didn't change just the trajectory of his career and life. It changed the trajectory of his entire family's life. And he's now a very senior executive, going from a combat control system on the bridge of a warship to now being a very well compensated professional executive at a large pharma company. And it happened within just months. And these are some of the successes we like to have. It's not about Project RELO. It's about our military women and men. And when people see what they have sort of under the covers, the military members, we do laugh, cry, bleed, sweat. We're not all Rambos, Rambettes. We're just regular people. We just happen to have a number of really great skills that have been cultivated in us through our years of serving this fantastic country. I'm going to wrap on the show here. As everybody that listens knows, we like to ask just kind of a couple fun questions at the end. I'm going to ask Shelli the first one. So Shelli, what was your I can't believe I'm doing this on Project RELO. Holy cow, besides the tent, because you already said you promised you wouldn't do it and you can't repeat that one. Holy cow, what am I doing? How did I get here? Etc. What was that?
So many things, but when we were crawling underground.
The tunnel system.
Yes. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I
that
never thought I'd get to do in my lifetime.
Yeah. So folks, context, one of the things we do is we show how it takes a team to navigate through the toughest of situations. And in the situation that we put our executive participants in is we're teaching them MOUT, military operations in urban terrain. And we put them in a sewer system under a fabricated village. By the way, this is a real town, church, grocery store, embassy, etc. It's a training facility on this very, very large military base we partner with. And these tunnels are real, and they are really. Were they comfortable? Were they clean? Tell me about the tunnel real quick. I mean, this is probably not what you were thinking about going from a boardroom into. What was that? What was that tunnel like?
It was harder than I expected, right? Just physically, and of course, not wanting to let down your tribe or your team. So you have all sorts of things going on in your mind. In addition to thinking, how did I get here?
It's dirty. It's dark. You're navigating to an uncertain, destination. I mean, you understand the intent. We could talk about more about that in the future radio station. It is the key to leadership, by the way. The thing is, you're doing this, and the only reason why many of our participants do it is because of what Shelli just said. At that point, they're so invested in the women and men next to them, their tribe, that they will go into these very strange, seemingly strange learning environments, learn how it takes a team to move through that. And they come through it with two major experiences. One, oh my God, I didn't think I could do it, because it actually is a little physically demanding, because you're kind of in this, you can't crawl, but you can't stand up. And so you get this personal satisfaction, but you also then understand what it means to be fully immersed in an operation where everybody's responsible to everybody else, how you have to communicate, how they communicate with you. And so how the rules, the norms, et cetera, allow you to excel through otherwise an obstacle that really is surprisingly difficult, emotionally, mentally, and then of course, to some extent, physically. Erik, I'm going to go to you. Tell us what's the funniest thing you saw one of our executive participants do in Project RELO? I know you've been our medic on 2 missions, our transitioning veteran military instructor and medic, being in 18 Delta and the Green Beret. What was one of the funniest things you ever saw?
I don't know that there was anything from an individual that was specifically funny, but have you seen the diaper commercials where they show how parents act with their first kid versus their second kid?
No, but I'm laughing because it sounds funny.
Okay, so one of the diaper brands, they have a commercial where your first kid, everything is perfect, everything is clean, and then by your second kid, they have the dad handing the kid to a mechanic that he doesn't know. And I would say it was funny how quickly, the first day at Project RELO, it's like your first kid, people dusting themselves off and, kind of keeping your stuff real neat. And the second day, it's like your second kid. Everyone embraces the dustiness, the sleeping on the ground, smelling like the campfire. And it was funny to see how quickly you go from your first kid to your second kid, in that environment. So.
Oh, I love that story. And now that you mention it, I know the truth of those words, and you're exactly right. People think that it takes forever to train people and to create tribes. Folks, that is a fallacy. Let's go back to how we started this conversation with Shelli. Invest in relationships, invest in getting to know people, build things around the attributes of trust, a bias for good, positive, well-intended action, and entrepreneurialism, a decisiveness, if you will, and people will come together quick, fast, and glued together like they've been slabbed and super glue and stuck to one another. Actually, that's a really ugly picture, but you get the idea and the intent of it. On that note, folks, we're going to move to a wrap here, and I'm going to close this conversation. I got to start by thanking Shelli. Shelli, what a marvelous discussion we had, and this is Vet Talks, Project RELO. It's not about Madison Industries. Everybody at Madison should listen to this, though. You represented your company so well. Seriously, I want to go work there. I'll do what Erik said. Let me be an unpaid intern until I prove my stripes. Because, look, you got mission. You could believe in people as an asset. You're growing, and you're trying, you're doing all this around this notion of making the world a better and more sustainable and just simply a better world. And that's just fantastic. Erik, thank you, too, for coming back. I know we've taken a couple hours of your life to do this, and I probably, with the permission of Madison Industries, will steal a couple days of your life as we do some more RELO missions in the future when we get past COVID and we can start doing events and whatnot on the military bases again. I want to thank you, too, for your time. So let's close, and I'm going to close with a very, very specific call to action. Why be ambiguous when you don't have to? If you or your organization need help in bringing in amazing, often underutilized talent, especially veteran talent, specifically veteran talent, please contact us at Vet Talks or Project RELO and help us help you find the military talent that you can hire that isn't about doing a social good, but rather, as Madison Industries well knows, it's about good business. You can contact us at info@projectrelo.org. That's project, RELO.org. No spaces, dashes, or anything like that. Or call us at 877-760-7356. And as we move from this platform of KVGI media onto things like Facebook and YouTube, which we're still just kind of experimenting in, even though we are episode 53, like us, link to us, share us, do all that nice stuff. Help us help our veterans, right? That's the point here. And we really want to bring their amazing stories to light and their incredible talents to your doorstep. Special thanks to our sponsor and our hosts, again, KVGI Media. Again, we love that they tolerate these conversations so very, very well. And Supreme Lending, Michael Shasteen, he sponsors this, and he does this as a proud American veteran himself as he grows a business that actually has grown remarkably well on attributes, not all that unlike those described by Shelli and Madison Industries. Everybody, have a fantastic day. Thank you, and goodbye.